Hello, students of Spanish 3. I know it's been a minute. It's been a little while since we've done one of these. So I've also had some requests by a few people that we get back into the possibility of some extra credit embedded in one of these. So I will tell you now in advance that there will be a small amount of extra credit available if you were to watch this and follow the directions given therein. So just throwing that out there as a little teaser up front. Anyways, hope that this finds you well. And today we're just going to be talking about our new chapter, section 7.1. There'll be a few other miscellaneous items in there, and there's also just a little bit more with subjunctive. Always a little bit more with subjunctive, and in some cases combos of indicative and subjunctives in the same sentence. So we'll be doing both today. Before we do that, let's go ahead and jump into actually our vocab first. I'm just going to be doing some pronunciation with you. I'll move me down here for a second. There we go. So I will just read some of this to you aloud for pronunciation only. We'll do actual definitions a little bit later. Every once in a while I'll stop just in case I see a cognate that I really like. But anyways, here we go. Expressing happiness. Estoy contento. Estoy de buen humor. Estoy en la gloria. This is a fun one because it means like I'm in heaven, but la gloria doesn't necessarily mean heaven. It means like I'm in glory. So kind of interesting like that. Estoy encantado. Estoy orgulloso. Me alegro que. Me encanta que. So those are some expressions for talking about being well or expressing happiness. Next one. Estoy decepcionado and estoy desilusionado. These are kind of interesting because both of these mean the same thing, even though they're two different things. They both talk about being disappointed. So they're both negative in some way, even though they are two different words. So, estoy decepcionado, I'm disappointed. Estoy desilusionado, I'm disappointed. If you were to be more literal with it, like I am deceived, I am disillusioned. Just found that kind of interesting. Anyways, estoy dolido. Me dan ganas de llorar. Me duele mucho que. Me frustra que. Me siento frustrado. Temo que. And here's a nice one. Friendship, okay? The first word on here is actually the word for friendship, la amistad. And as a side note, really interesting movie about a historical piece about la amistad. Anyone want to bring that up in class and know what I'm talking about? Feel free to show off on Monday. Apoyar. Chismear, confiar en, contar en, dejar de hablarse, dejar plantado a alguien. This is kind of an interesting one here too. This means like to stand someone up, like to agree to go to a place and then end up not going there. I just found this to be an interesting one because it literally means to leave planted to someone, like you left them planted there or something like that. I thought that was an interesting cognate. El problema está resuelto. Hacerle un cumplido a alguien. Pelearse. Reconciliarse. These are two antonyms, like to get into a fight and then to reconcile afterwards. Resolver un problema. El rumor. No, rumor, of course, rumor. Tener un malentendido. This is another fun one because malentendido means misunderstanding, but it comes from the verb entender, which means to understand. So a badly understood is the more literal translation. Just kind of interesting. Okay, a couple more here. In comforting someone, all right? I like this one. Animo. Literally translates to, well, it generally means to cheer up, but the literal translation is like animate. You're like, act better, act happier, okay? Comparto tu pena. I feel your pain. Esto pasará pronto. Lo siento mucho. Mi más sentido pásame. No hay mal que 100 años dure. No hay mal que por bien no venga. Actually, I'm going to pause on this one for a second too. I thought this one was kind of interesting. It has in English it would be like every cloud has a silver lining, but the actual meaning is, it doesn't necessarily have to be some sort of colloquialism or idiomatic expression. If you were looking at it a little more literally, this would mean there is no bad by which no good comes. I feel like that kind of stands on its own 2 feet a little bit. Just thought I'd share. Okay. ¿Qué puedo hacer por ti? What can I do for you? And then tranquilo, like calm down, tranquilize yourself. Okay. Very good. So that's just a little bit of the vocab that we're going to be practicing more of the next week. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at and you can see, boom, boom, boom. We got quite a bit of wordiness to this. I promise you that most of this that we're going to do is going to be just practiced in class. So I won't go through every little tiny aspect of this. I'll just kind of read through it with you, and then I'll explain where the extra credit's going to come in. So let's go here. Let's go here and 0. There it is. And okay, the subjunctive with expressions of feeling. So when expressing an emotional reaction to something, the emotional reaction is in the indicative mood, and the event being reacted to is in the subjunctive. So here's an example of that. We have el maestro se alegra que sus estudiantes hagan la tarea todos los días. Notice that this is in the indicative mode. It makes him happy. But this is in the subjunctive mood right here. Hagan la tarea. The teacher is happy that his students do their homework every day. So that somehow gives some sort of a value upon them doing that, which is what triggers that subjunctive mode. So the teacher is happy that the students do their homework every day. So indicative here, subjunctive over here. Next. Okay. Reciprocal actions. I feel like these two are kind of the same because they're both talking about how they're talking about using the words each other, basically. So they kind of do the same thing. Let me put this down for you for just a second. There we go. To express each other in use a plural reflexive form of the verb. So, for example, Mitch y Teresa se quieren mucho. Mitch and Teresa love each other a lot. How nice. Just finished up with Valentine's Day. There you go. So, se quieren. Normally, like many of you are familiar with the phrase, I say, I love you in Spanish. Te quiero, you, I love. But in this case, it's se quieren. They love each other. So that's where that comes in. Tú y yo nos hablamos bastante. You and I talk to each other a lot. You and I talk to each other enough. So we used a plural reflexive form in order to do so. Now, move this up a little tiny bit. There we go. Another way of saying each other is always stated using the reflexive pronouns. This kind of states almost the same thing. Juan y Maria no se hablan. This is like a negative version of that. Juan and Maria don't talk to each other. Another one, John and Mary aren't even speaking to each other. Okay, so John and Mary don't talk to each other, aren't speaking to each other. However you want to translate that. Okay, both pretty similar either way. Okay, one more here. I think this will be our last one. This one's really, really full of text, so I'll get this out of the way and I'll try to walk you through it quickly. Present perfect subjunctive. This one's a little bit newish, okay? The present perfect subjunctive is the present subjunctive of haber. Now, you guys aren't familiar with haber by itself. Its literal translation is to have, but not as in having things, like in the possessive component of it, like the verb tener. It means like to have had done something, or to have completed something. It's that kind of to have. So the subjunctive forms are haya, hayas, haya, hayamos, hayais should have been thrown in there, and hayan. We'll fix that later. So it would be like I have, you have, he or she has, we have, and they have. But not in terms of having things, it's having done something. And then the past participle of the verb, like the ado and ido forms of them. So let's see, to express an emotional reaction to something that has already happened, state the emotional reaction in the present indicative and the event that has happened in the present perfect subjunctive. I know how dry that sounds. You're like, oh my gosh, this is like grammatical vomit here, okay? But here we go. El maestro se alegra que todos los estudiantes hayan hecho su tarea. So let's break that down, because this is everything that they explained up here is what they just did in this sentence. So the teacher is happy that all the students have done their homework. So hecho is the participial form of hacer. Instead of ha sido, it's slightly irregular. And then hayan, meaning they have, as in they have done this thing. I'm going to move this up for a moment. There we go. To express a hope that something has already happened, state the hope in the present indicative and the event in the present perfect subjunctive. So here we go. El maestro espera que todos hayan salido bien en el examen. Okay, so the teacher hopes that everyone has done well on their exam. All right, so that's how that's sort of a general translation. And speaking of general translations, I think that kind of brings me to what I want you guys to do for this week. If you have interest in earning just 5 points of extra credit, go ahead and get just a note card. And I'd like you to give me 5 sentences using the present perfect subjunctive sentence structures. You can use this type of sentence structure here or this type of sentence structure here. Anytime you're saying that someone hopes that something has already happened, or being happy or sad that something has happened, I'd like you to try and give this a try. Okay, so in this second part over here, you might have to go back and look at present perfect tenses, but the participial forms, the those and the those, and some of these irregulars, you might end up using those. But the only reason they call it the present perfect subjunctive is because this conjugation of haber is in the subjunctive mode here. So you'll use something in indicative over here, saying that you're happy about it, or you're sad about it, or you're mad about it, or something like that, or someone else is, because something has been done over on this side. I'd like 5 sentences attempting to do something like this. Okay, give them to me in Spanish, and below each one a quick English translation, so that you're proving that you actually know what it is you're doing. All right, I know this one was a little bit longer. You had to hopefully many of you stuck it out till the end. We're doing very well. We're getting very advanced. All right, so keep up the good work. And it was great seeing you in this forum again. And I can't wait to see you in our classroom forum come Monday. Ciao, hasta luego, y adios.